I'll go ahead and I'll get the ball rolling. We've got a pretty substantial amount of people in here already, almost more than we get in person, which is exciting. So what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to our first ever New Jersey Real Estate Investors Group webinar. This is new for us. It's new for a lot of you guys as well. I'm sure you've been involved in a few throughout the past few weeks. Welcome to ours. I just want to go ahead and start by taking a quick moment to extend a big thanks to every single one of the 89 people that we've got in here so far. You guys don't have much else to do, but you're still here with us, and we very much appreciate that. It's really your continued support throughout the years that make it an easy decision for us to adapt and overcome rather than simply postponing, because you really are the engine that keeps the machine moving, and that's kind of what we've been saying amongst ourselves in planning this. I do see some new faces in here. That's exciting as well. Let me just go ahead and take a second, like I usually do, to introduce who we are. We are the original real estate wholesalers and rehabbers group, founded in 2003 by Glen. Since its inception, we have brought together thousands of beginner investors, experienced investors, and all different types of experts associated with the real estate investing business to network and discuss current profitable methods of investing in real estate. Our group does and has always specialized in networking with others in our area who share interest in, again, wholesaling, rehabbing, and investing in distressed and discounted properties. Most importantly, finding a way to make a profit. Whether in person or online, our meetings are the first Tuesday of each month. Although we won't be able today, obviously, to have our typical speed networking, I want to take a quick moment to shout out our vendors who support us at each and every event. I see some of you guys in here as well. So let's start with Matt Victoria and his partners over at M&M Mortgage Team, Andrew Swap and Ideal Development LLC out of Newark, Brittany Melville and Next Generation, Mo and Ben Hirsch over at Regal Kitchens, Ron Jankowitz, the CPA extraordinaire, our man Rory from New York Life Insurance, Ben's Gene, we can't forget him and his team over at the Epic Credit Solutions, Jackie Wilson at Professional Home Staging and Design, and Yale Ken Property Management, led by Stephen Booch. All right, so last but not least, the sponsors of this event, as always, are Peak Property and Peak Private Lending. So I'll shoot it over to you, Paul, and you can do your thing.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the sponsors that help us put this thing on every month. It really means a lot to us and a lot to our members. I'd also like to thank everybody for taking the time to join us tonight on what, like Eddie said, would be April's NJREI Wholesalers and Rehabbers Group Networking Meeting. I know I recognize a good amount of names on the attendee call, and I see we do have some healthcare and other frontline workers joining us as well. And I really just want to extend our thanks for the job that they're doing, during this time. It's super important, and we greatly appreciate it. For the first timers, Glenn and I are Peak Properties and Peak Private Lending. We've been active investors in the local distressed real estate market since 1998. Over the last 20 years, we've experienced the ups and downs of various market cycles that have come our way. And I know we're all going to forever remember this period in our lives when this global pandemic upended our daily business and personal lives. But as we were preparing tonight, I was thinking on how amazing it's been to witness the evolution of these real estate network meetings. We've always encouraged everyone to use these meetings to your advantage and leverage our knowledge and experience, as well as forming new relationships with real estate professionals. Again, thank you guys for attending, and hopefully we have a good night, as I know we have two really trusted people in the industry that we're gonna be talking with tonight. So thank you guys again.
Awesome, cool. So tonight will obviously be a bit different from what we're used to at the Holiday Inn, or formerly the Ramada. But in my opinion, it'll be one of our best ones yet. We appreciate you guys being along for the ride as we figure out how to stay sharp in our industry together, per usual, right? I won't get too much into my opinion of these times. We're all here, myself included, to hear from the best at what we do in our local markets. Today, we really have the pleasure of having an all-star cast lined up pretty much to think out loud for you guys. That consists of Paul Gallucci, who you guys have met, Our special guests, Billy Procida and Brian Foley, and then Mr. Glen himself. All right, Glen is the host and CEO, founder of Peak Properties and Peak Private Lending, who alongside his son Paul sponsor these events or webinars. Their company is a very successful real estate investment firm, specializing themselves in wholesaling, rehabbing, and private lending to real estate investors. Together, they've built a reputable investing company which offers community networking, educational meetups, bus tours, workshops, training seminars for beginning and experienced investors alike. A little bit about myself. My name is Eddie Lopez. I work alongside my brother, Kyle Lopez. We started attending these events just about 3 years ago with absolutely no background in construction or real estate. At the moment, we are working on our 9th flip, which you guys will hear about a little bit later, as well as we just wholesaled our 8th property a few weeks ago as well. Trust me when I tell you, especially for the new people in here and the people who I just keep seeing come back every month, you guys are absolutely in the right place to learn how to get into it, succeed in this business the right way. Enough from me. What I'll do is I'll pass the attention over to Mr. Glen. So now it's really time to listen up and take some notes.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being on our first ever webinar. And for the beginners, we usually have a pretty informal meeting, but tonight we are having 2 special guests, so we're going to be hitting them with some questions, and I'm sure they're going to enlighten us a lot. So, but first of all, I'd also like to say, I'd like to give a thank you for the commitment of all the healthcare workers, first responders, the emergency services that are working so hard for us during this uncertain and difficult time. And if you're one of those people, we thank you. And if you have any family members or friends that are out there, give them a call and, tell them how much you appreciate what they're doing and appreciate their efforts. And I'm sure that they'll appreciate that. So, and doing our part as individuals is also an important role. I mean, we need to follow the rules that were set upon us. We need to stay home. We need to practice social distancing. I've been doing my part practicing social distancing, but since I've been home now for 26 days now, my social distancing has only been with my refrigerator. So, and after 26 days, I know why dogs are so happy to go for a walk. I've never thought in my life I'd be inside for 26 days. Incredible. But you know what? We all have to do what we have to do. So, I know it's not easy to adjust to the changes of our normal routines and our regular patterns of life and just stay home. And for those of you that are like me, that have been home and you lost a little bit track, today's Tuesday, April 7th. I woke up the other day, I said, is today Thursday, Friday? I didn't realize what day it was. So anyway, okay, let's get on with our evening. I'd like to introduce Billy and Brian. And for this month's meeting, I thought it would be appropriate to bring back Billy Procida of Procida Funding and Advisors to address our group tonight. Billy and I go back a long way as we collaborated on local funding opportunities post-2008 subprime market crash. Billy, the founder of Procida Funding and Advisors back in 1995, and has financed and fixed and built over $3 billion of buildings and companies. Procida manages the 100-mile fund, which provides financing and commercial real estate projects and small to mid-sized businesses. He's been a regular guest on CNBC, Fox Business, just about every major TV network in the United States. Joining Billy tonight is Brian Foley. Brian is Vice President of Procida Funding and Advisors, and Brian joined the team full-time as an associate back in 2016 after graduating with a BS in economics from the Wharton School of Business and the University of Pennsylvania, with concentrations on finance and real estate. So we have 2 great professionals to share their point of view during this time, and we're honored to have Billy as our friend and as our guest speaker along with Brian tonight. So before we get started with Billy and Brian, just want to thank you guys for taking the time to be on the webinar. And before we start, Billy, how you holding up? Are you staying home, or what have you been doing?
Well, I was on a site inspection yesterday, but I've pretty much been trying to stay home. But, we got guys working on construction jobs that are, $20 to $50 million. So if they're on the job, number one, I got to pay them. So I got to make sure they're working. So I've been going out a little bit, doing concerts every Saturday on my deck for the neighborhood.
I saw that. I saw that. It's pretty good. You get some crowd there.
It's certainly been different. I mean, at 57 years old and 40 years in this business, I've seen a lot of stuff, but I ain't never seen anything like this.
Good. Okay, well, that'll bring us to our first question here. You talk about your fund. How's your fund doing, and how do you conduct yourself during this crisis?
Well, two things. How our fund's doing has to do with what we predicted in 2000, and I think it was 2014, when I wrote an article called 4 More Years. And in that article, I predicted that the high-end New York City condo market and other markets like it, like Miami, were going to crash due to a simple issue of oversupply. There were too many permits. New York City went from 15,000 housing starts, which are high-rises, New York City's high-rises, to 65,000 in 2014. Wasn't a brilliant prediction that that market was going to collapse. And before the virus, it collapsed by 30 to 40%. So we were doing a lot of luxury condos, high-rise and all that, and luxury housing. And in 2016, we switched and started investing in affordable housing mostly, and interesting stuff like the Metropolitan Opera House in Philly, where we did the $56 million renovation. Bob Dylan opened last year for us, and we've had everybody from Madonna to Sting to the Grateful Dead. So last week, and there's a picture somewhere, I actually was the only private equity firm in America, probably. I signed 200 dividend checks, but I signed them because Brian told me that the corona thing can get transmitted by paper. So I didn't want to infect my shareholders. So I actually signed my shareholder checks in a mask, goggles, a mask, and plastic gloves. And if you ever have to flip 500 checks in plastic gloves, it takes a long time. So fund's doing good simply because, and look, your audience, let me first back up for 1 second, because some of your audience I've met. I was there in Newark, I think it was last summer or fall. Just like salt of the earth, wonderful folks. So good evening all. But I gotta point out, I'll never forget in 2009, when I showed up at the Glen Point Marriott, you had the room packed. There must have been 500 people. And before you introduced me, you got up and said, "Who wants to do a short sale?" And the whole room went, "Yeah!" So you got a great group, Glenn. So the fund's doing good because I stick to basic, wholesome stuff. Affordable housing. Currently, we're lending to tow truck companies, junkyards, stuff that doesn't get affected by the recession. Right. But lots of affordable housing. So things are going good, but this is a time where you got to hunker down, double down on all your research. Look, all of you got plenty of time on your hands. Redo your budget, redo your schedule, check your subs, make sure everybody's okay, because when we get let out of the cage, we're going back to work.
I hope so.
That your budget's wrong, your schedule's wrong, your value's wrong. Reevaluate it all and go from there. Glenn, I didn't get the signal.
No, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. All right. Let's just do a quick jump to Paul over there. I know a lot of people have been asking us as well, so I'm going to punt this over to Paul. How has Pete been handling everything over the last few weeks? What are we doing?
I mean, we're getting into week 4, and at times I feel like we've been doing this for 4 months. But with as most of you know, our office is based in Teaneck, New Jersey. So it was the hotbed. It had the most, tested positive. So we got a letter from our mayor and the buzz about him ordering just the town to self-quarantine. So Glenn and I made a decision that, we're going to close the office and set up our work from home, situations, and that we're not going to send any of our employees, our internal field or value agents into the field, which it's a tough decision to make. But I think in the end, we both felt strongly that it was, a little bit more about, the safety of the community and our employees and doing the right thing versus the dollar at that particular point in time. And when I think back, I remember like when the NBA shut down, the stock market went below 20,000 and the government issued the non-essential work home order. That's when I started to be like, like holy crap. And it seemed like, day after day, more data on positive tests and talk of a crash, recession, uncertainty. That spurred us to, call Billy and do exactly what he said and be proactive and kind of reevaluate and re-underwrite everything. And I think I can't take all the credit because we got kind of lucky because it is tax time in the end of the first quarter, where we would, stress test all our assets that we have, we own, or we have loans on. So we really, that was the first thing we did, went over our P&L, our balance sheet. We're not leveraged at all, and we're currently maintaining, a good cash position, and we're ready to take advantage of opportunities that will arise. But all in all, we're taking this real serious. We locked Glen up at his place in Bergen County over there, and he's on strict orders that he can't sneak out. And I got rings set up on the place, so he's probably not the happiest camper. But internally, we reached out to all of our borrowers, our JV partners, our contractors, just to discuss the current environment and see how we could help in any way. Stressing that having these open lines of communication, is critical in these times. I'm not too old, and I've only experienced probably, one or two of the major crises. But, I think we all, my father and I, we learned a lot about those times. And then maybe, a couple days into the work at home, situation, we got inundated with incoming inquiries like, emails, phone calls, applications from brokers, borrowers, all looking for financing. And obviously it was due to the lack of liquidity that, the secondary hard money lending market is going through. So I've been spending my days speaking to investors, who may not have previously saw the value in our relationship with Peak. We're somewhat a little bit different from the bigger guys. And I've really enjoyed interviewing them and talking real estate with these potential new clients. But I think the real question becomes, if we're going to experience a market slowdown and, like Billy said, bunker down due to these restrictions, we're going to have more time at home. And I think the question is, how are we going to use this time? I think that's the question that everybody needs to ask themselves. And I know I'm not wasting this time, and I don't think we should. When you could be educating yourself, getting your business affairs in orders, anything that's going to add value to you and your business. And we may not see the monetary gain today, but I'm confident that it'll pay dividends in the future.
Hey, by the way, Paul, just think of it like this.
Okay.
Right? Olympic athletes. And by the way, Brian Foley here, who's the only person I quarantined everybody. I told Foley, get out there. Brian actually made it to the Olympic trials in swimming.
Very nice.
You think about it, Olympic athletes train 4 years for one day, right?
Yep.
In our life, when you think about the past, as long as you've been alive,
yep,
we've never had an opportunity to train our brains, right? We wake up, let's go, 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 go. You think you're working hard, but are you working smart?
Right.
Are you training, or you just, right? So really think about an Olympic athlete. Even think about a pro athlete. They train off season to play football particularly, right? One game a week. So this is like the most unbelievable opportunity. Train yourself. And by the way, here's what I've done. Here's professional builder. Okay, and is it coming through, professional builder?
Nice.
You got it.
Now, by the way, I thought I knew everything about construction after 40 years and billions of construction. And Brian, you're going to get this article tomorrow. And you've heard me say 100 times, when you're building a building, make sure all the toilets are back to back, sinks are back to back. First, I just learned something this week because I sat my ass down and actually read every article in Builder Magazine. I never thought of something as simple as compact duct layouts, which, by the way, is the same concept as back-to-back toilets, back-to-back sinks. So, you know, there's magazines out there, and this is also by Builder Associate, Building Operation Management, how to reduce your cost. And these are the things that I never get to do. But now that we're quarantined, it's a good time to just fill yourself in the head with everything that's out there. And between the Professional Builder, which is the National Builders Association magazine, and you got NJ Biz, which, by the way, why you got to read that? Because what happens in business in Jersey, I don't know if I'm getting that, is going to affect where you should go. So this is the greatest. You know, I've heard people complain about the quarantine. It's actually one of the best opportunities to restructure, rethink everything you're doing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Right? Go ahead, Paul. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good.
No, it was good. It was good. And like I said, I think, you know, even myself and Glenn over the last couple of weeks, I mean, you know, I have 2 kids. So as much as these times have been the challenging adjustments, you know, there are positives to take away from it too. And I think, you know, I've enjoyed walks around the neighborhood. You know, I was joking with Glenn. I walk for dollars now. So I'm walking all over the place, you know, taking down addresses or potential deals. Yeah, I play gym teacher with my kids at home during their at-home school, you know, thing. And then obviously our peak meetings on Glenn's deck, where I know I have him cornered and he can't run away from me when I ask him 100 questions. So, you know, I think there's a lot of positives that you could take out of it as well. And also in the back of your mind, knowing that, you know, there's going to be a potential for a good portion of these investors, operators, people to be out of this real estate game in the short come months. And it's going to present, I think, a tremendous opportunity for others. And really just try to filter out the noise that's being pumped out via the news and the social media and focus on, you know, really just servicing our portfolio, mitigating the risk, you know, executing our strategies that with the goal of, you know, ultimately generating, you know, consistent returns. And, you know, I'm definitely going to be running around and looking for these new originations.
It's times like this,
right,
that just foster opportunity for folks like your audience, right? This is the kings of the universe are collapsing, right? Whenever the gods, the kings collapse, it's when folks can rise.
Right. And Billy, you spoke about this when you
Brian Foley's got $100 million to give all your friends. So
True.
talk to him.
Yeah, Brian,
Hey.
I mean, on your side, yeah, Brian, on your side, I'm curious too, like, you know, how are you navigating through these originations and the part of that business?
Yeah, you know, we're telling our, you know, our clients, our investors, everybody, you know, pump the brakes a little bit. No reason to rush. You know, go back to your lenders, the people that were selling you the properties if you're a buyer. Underwrite your subs. And, you know, try and look at those discounts because the value today isn't the value that it was a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
You know, everything changed probably for the better for people for more opportunities. And, you know, sit on your equity because in a couple months, the people that are sitting on the cash then are going to have all the opportunities.
Right.
You know, we're telling our people, you know, invest local, the people that you know, if you know the towns, you know, the people that work in the towns, the third parties, the construction contractors, you know, who you're getting all your materials from. That's where you're going to have your strengths rather than going, you know, hundreds, 200, 300 miles away from your home where you got to travel to these shops. Invest local, and that's where you're going to see your real returns. You know, you're going to find your buyers, your clientele. I think that's something that you really have to focus on.
Right.
And really re-underwrite your portfolio, because you're going to see more advantages to deals that you didn't even know you could get a discount here, a discount there. But most specifically, you really have to look at the subcontractors, because we're telling our investors and our clients and anybody that has any sort of subcontractor, because even though your job might be doing well, they might not be doing well on another project. So you got to make sure that they're good, because it only takes one subcontractor to bring down a job. So you really got to be careful about that.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah. Which leads us to, Billy, you ready, Billy? I got this question for you.
Go ahead.
How does this, what we're going through now, how does this, I'm just looking, I'm making sure I'm staying on schedule here. How does this compare to the market crash back in 2009? Like, this is horrible as it is, but how does it compare to that? How do you?
Well, listen, you're my age.
Yeah.
So the only thing that, like, we've gone through, you know, Vietnam, 9/11, SARS. We've had other, you know, other pandemics. But you're my age. You know, the only thing that really scared the shit out of me in my whole life was when I was in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. You remember when they used to do the bomb drills and you had to go in the bomb shelter?
True. Right.
It was 2nd grade.
Bomb scares. They would call bomb scares.
It was a bomb drill, and the teacher would say, well, we might get bombed by Russia, right? So, you know, that was pretty scary as a 2nd grader. Nothing else was scary. And by the way, this isn't really that scary, because you look at this thing and you go, you know, the data point when I look at this corona thing is 38,000 people a day. 38,000 people every day for the past decade die of starvation, mostly women and children. 38,000 people a day. I'm not smart enough to do the math. Foley, you're an Ivy League guy. I don't know. What the hell is 38,000 times 356 days a year?
A lot.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of value.
It's sad. I don't want anybody to die, but yeah, you know, there's like 30 or 40,000 people die a year of the flu. So, you know, look, the only thing this quarantine did, which is pretty much made it compress the window, and I believe it's social media that caused this to happen, which is okay. Which is okay. Like, look at everybody's doing everything they should be. And by the way, anybody out there that's a nurse and a doctor, and bravo and thank you. But, you know, very interesting. This thing really shine a light on another group of heroes, which are the people working in the grocery stores, the truckers getting the food. I mean, I hope they all get raises. I'm not a Bernie Sanders fan, but you know what? The concept, and you really learned right now what's important. Getting food.
Right.
It requires factory workers, truckers, and grocery store clerks. And keep going. So bravo to all of you. But I've been preaching that this crash, so to go with your question of 09 to now, when I go back to 87, that crash was the crash of what they called the yuppies. Now, anybody that's under 35 might not know what a yuppie was, but a yuppie was a young, what was it? Young
urban professional.
Right? What you'd now call Mr. Foley over here, and Paul and Eddie. And they were all fucking borrowing money like crazy.
Experts.
No F-bombs, I'm sorry. Yeah. You don't got producers at the house that bleep me out?
The button?
No delay here. No delay here.
So, you know, that was the crash of the yuppies. The subprime crash of 7, 8, and 9 was the crash of the middle class. And I was on CNBC, and when 2 years before the crash, Maria Bartolomo asked me, why are you so sure that there's a problem? And I said, my bartender owns 30 houses. And that was in 2005. My bartender owned 30 houses. So this crash will be the crash of the 1%. By the way, I'm a 1%er, but I'm a 1%er who lives low. Okay? You're a 1%er with 3 $10 million houses. You got issues because you can't sell those houses. You're a developer building a high rise in Manhattan today. A typical high rise, 50 stories in Manhattan today, typical apartment is 5 to 10 million. Nobody's buying that anymore. Then there's the trickle down effect, right? So look at 90% of the people on this watching this really are not going to get affected. There's going to be an intense period for the next 3, 4, 5 months. If you already own stuff, you got to work with your tenants, commercial or residential, retail, no matter. You got to work with them. And by the way, you got to help them get any grant the government's giving out. So, see, the difference between the last one and this one, this is an interruption of cash flow. The last one was caused by a artificially inflated value that was caused by people giving, government agencies, particularly Fannie and Freddie, giving money away. This one is just being caused by the virus and the shutdown. Life will return to normal. We've stress tested our portfolio. If the world comes back in June, if it comes back in September, or if it comes back in December, we even did a stress test that the world doesn't normalize until December 21. Now that's super unlikely. My bet is by June, we're all back to normal. Hopefully the NFL, which by the way, I've kind of zeroed in on the NFL. The NFL, that's your kind of mark. If they play football come September, the world will be back to normal. Because listen, since the time of the Colosseum, right, since ancient times, the human race loves going out, right? So, look, we own an opera house in Philadelphia, the Met, where everybody's played Madonna, Sting, The Dead, Dylan. By the way, Brian, I named all the ones that are my age. Who else played there that was your age group?
We had John Legend was down there. It's actually a lot more suited towards your generation, but you had a couple EDM artists and a couple big names.
So there, Sting was supposed to play in June. He rescheduled for November. So, we own the Fiesta. We own the loan on the Fiesta on Route 17 in Woodbridge. So for your Jersey folks, they probably know that. It's been there since the 60s. They've had every event canceled March, April, May, and June. Well, they're double booked for the rest of the year. So everything will come back. But
I hope so. I mean,
you want to be wired tight.
Everybody wants to.
You're wired. The more you've really evaluated who you are, where you are, and where you want to go, the better you'll do and the more capable you will be to take advantage of the opportunity.
okay, Paul, I think you had something for Eddie too, right? To hear from someone that's been in the business a little bit less.
Eddie had just closed the deal, Billy, in the past 30 days, and I think it would be beneficial because we do have some newbies or people that are in the middle of their deals right now. So I guess if you could just share, how you handling your personnel, the construction, and the current rehab that you're handling now over there in Bergen County.
Yeah, no, of course, it'd be my pleasure. So you guys know my brother's the one that leads our general construction, our contracting team, but he's not much for the cameras. But it hasn't been easy for us. For anybody who knows my brother Kyle and I, the name of our game in all of our projects thus far has been just speed and execution, 100% married to these deadlines that we set for ourselves. Where we typically have 2 to 3 crews working simultaneously in the house. It's been 3 weeks since we've had more than a crew of 2 or 3 guys in the house at a time. Those 2 or 3 guys, a lot of the times, include my brother and or myself. So we aren't necessarily happy or excited about it, but we have accepted that the times that we are in now, and we're doing our best to adjust appropriately. I have a few notes here as well. So number one, the most important thing that we did from the beginning was having an honest conversation with our lenders and partners about how our processes and our expectations have changed and why. You and Billy have both mentioned you have to go back and look at your P&L sheets. You have to go back and look at what your expectations are. So that was actually one of the first things that we did as well. We've always said that communication is key, not just right now, but always. And hard conversations are good conversations when it comes to money that you've borrowed. When it comes to money that you're paying out to an employer or subcontractor, it's the same thing. It's important for everybody to be on the same page so we understand where we are and where we intend on going. Number two, we understand, we set extremely aggressive timelines for our projects, and we're usually able to hit our marks. We understand that in this specific case, our timelines can't be the same as they were 2 months ago. When we started this project, we had a 6-week strict timeline. We were supposed to be on the market in the 3rd week of April. So now we haven't stopped completely, but we obviously have slowed down. So we are looking to be on the market the 1st or 2nd week in May, assuming things don't get any worse. People on our crews have gotten sick. So we actually have been waiting for our mud guys to get in the house since last weekend. One of them called us and said that he wasn't necessarily feeling too well, that he had symptoms. Typically that's something that gets us a little annoyed, something that gets us ticked off when somebody can't execute on what they say they're going to do. But again, we have to go ahead and internalize what's going on. So we can't be mad or threatened with legal action or a pay reduction because that would simply be unfair. So we have to obviously be a bit more understanding than usual, respectful as always, but just kind of maneuver ourselves in a way where we can go ahead and continue to get our projects done because, obviously, as you guys know, we have a responsibility to our lenders. We have a responsibility to everybody who believes in us. But from our perspective, just as important as we have a responsibility to the subs and our few full-time guys that we employ and that count on us to keep them working.
Eddie, you're a young guy. Very well said. Because the concept of be kind is what you convey. Be kind. And if you go through your whole career with be kind in mind, it will come back to you. And for your lenders, if they're stupid enough to try to be a tough guy with you, it doesn't. And look, we're a lender. We've got $300 million on the street. I tell my guys, my borrowers, is the last thing in the world I'm going to do is get tough with you. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to give you the time to cure this because,
right.
And Eddie, when you wake up and remember, real estate exists. It's not like the stock market where they can press a button. It goes from 30,000 to 20,000, which I predicted on Billy Ball, which is the show I do. I predicted in August, I said a black swan's going to come. I don't know what it is. And the market's going to go from 30,000 to 20,000. Real estate's not like that. There's no computers running and pressing buttons and trading stocks. So your assets are going to be fine. And by the way, if your lenders give you a problem, call Brian Foley. Because you know what? Not only a good-looking guy, you really seem to know what you're doing. And that's what Foley looks for.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. I mean, as everyone knows, I run all my stuff through Glen and Paul. No.
I'm always going to pay Glen and Paul. But the point is, I hate lenders who act. Is asshole a bad word?
I'm putting it down as number 2, but say it with conviction.
A lender during this window who's an asshole and says, I want my money or I'm not funding you, fuck them.
Oh,
you call us. I will not permit any lender to screw a guy like you or any of Glen and Paul's audience. Because not only is it immoral, it's just stupid business. It's stupid. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to a judge and go and foreclosing on this guy because he couldn't pay during the virus? Right. No judge in the world is going to listen to any lender that's going after anybody who's trying to fix a neighborhood, rebuild a building. And there's unfortunately a lot of them out there.
Okay, which leads me to my next question for you.
I got your back as much money as you need. I got your back for the Peak group because I love that group.
Okay, with that being said, for some of the beginning investors that we have out there, or even some experienced ones, shortly, what kind of advice would you give them? Like right now, what should they be doing just right now?
All right. First off, somewhere out there on YouTube, a couple of years, actually, when me and you were doing business, Glenn, I did a series of how-to. Because remember, I was doing fix and flips back then.
Yes.
Because I was under a non-compete. Because thankfully, I sold my company in 2007 and made a lot of money. And
you made a lot of room for us to step in because you've moved up to the higher ground.
and me and you, and I love dealing with you, and I love being with you. But I did do a series of how to build a team, how to do a projection, etc. But what I would say, in particular to Eddie over here, and we talked about this a little today, Glenn and Paul, the effort it takes to do a $250,000 flip is the same effort and frankly the same expertise that it takes to do a $5 million or $10 million job. Now and this is on our website, New York Times has reported it, and every New York magazine. I was 20 years old, barely a high school graduate, when I did a $10 million 52-unit ground-up project with a marina, which was $10 million in 1983. It would be like a $50 million deal now. So this is a window. Because look, guys like us, Foley is not looking for a property. He's looking for a person.
Correct.
At the end of the day, and I'm going to put aside the stuff you're in hunker down, stabilize, know everything, get realistic. And by the way, get out, get it finished, get out. Now, remember, your time is your most valuable commodity. So when you're in our position, having to put out 100, 200 million a year, it's not the deal, it's the people. So if you're out there watching and you're looking at 50 deals a week, and by the way, the difference between the 80s and today, you could be looking online. You can go look at bigger deals because perception, real estate's values over 100 years go like this. When they go down, it's perceived. When they go up, it's perceived. It's really a steady line, right? So when the market goes like this, just keep looking and looking, but you got to have good process procedures. You got to know one thing. When you call Foley, he'll tell you, know what the hell you're talking about, right? Don't tell him I'm X dollars a door. That's not an industry term. It's X dollars a foot, X dollars a bedroom. You got to know everything about the asset, but there's going to be so much dumped on the market by the banks and the big commercial guys getting foreclosed on. And look, as you might hear from my voice, I'm a contractor. Then I became a developer. Then I became a financier. First and foremost, I'm a contractor. Right now, you're hunters. You're out in the woods, whatever your choice is, deer, you're hunting. The better a hunter you are, which means you're out there looking, you're going to find something. If you find something, the only thing missing is money. And by the way, if you got a good eye for finishes, you may not be good at finance. If you got a good eye for construction, you may not be good at marketing. Build your team.
One person can build a building. I don't care if it's a two-family house or a 20-story building. It's the same discipline.
The right lawyer,
The right accountant, the right insurance agent.
build your team. And then look, the beauty of now is you can, everything on the web. You can start looking at deals. If you find a deal that's over your head, there are equity guys like us that'll play with you. But this may be, Glenn, so to compare it to 2009, this may be the greatest opportunity your audience has ever seen, because in 2009, there was still a lot of people with a lot of money. Today, the giants are the ones that are faltering. And the only reason we're not faltering is we called this 5 years ago. We were predicting a recession in 18. So when you look at the stuff that we own loans on, it's tow truck companies, junkyards, oil truck repair facilities. So, and plenty of affordable housing, which is what your audience does. So,
Okay, good. Now,
Billy, if I could say something there.
yes.
You know, Billy preaches this all the time. It's very important. You know, the first thing I ask when anybody calls me, are you part of your local builders association? Are you talking to your local brokers? This is the time to reach out to them, become a member. They're your best resources. You can find out the best leads, everything local. And, you know, especially with this group that's looking at doing these projects that you're preaching to right now, the best thing that you could do is reach out during this time that you're stuck at home and build your contact list.
Absolutely, especially for the beginners. And this is the time. You know, it seems that we're all so busy sometimes. You know, life gets in our way. Right now, life kind of put us on hold, so where we have to stay home, and it gives us a tremendous amount of times. You know, we can only clean our closets and clean our cupboards and do everything and build shelves and everything else after 30 days, right? So now's the time really to reach out to those folks. And you know what? They're home. I mean, even like Billy, I could reach out. Billy, a lot of times, is very difficult to get a hold of, as well as you, Brian. You know, you're busy with your empire over
you can
there.
always find me in the supermarket.
I can always find you in the supermarket. We find each other, right? So,
See, that's what's good about being local, though. Think about it, Glenn, right? You live in Denver, I live in Piermont. We can find each other. If we need each other in the good time, we can find each other.
yeah, and especially now you find us more than ever. I can get Billy all day long almost, you know, but all right. So it leads us to one of our almost closing questions, but also, Billy, you can't be like me and talk with your hands because it blocks your audio.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
By the way, this is my first webinar also.
Me too, but I have my hands tied because I can just about talk if I don't. Okay. I have to read this because I had this conversation. Paul and I had this conversation, and Brian too, today. So I want to ask you this. You had quoted Louis Pasteur in saying, "Chance favors the prepared mind." And I
Say it one more time. Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Chance favors the prepared mind. And we thought that was so interesting. So I said, "Oh, we got to have this on tonight." So if you can just explain what that is, elaborate on that and how that relates to the crisis that we're going through.
Well, I think it was Monday morning at probably 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Brian and his whole team got an email from me, and that was the exact quote. And I said, this is the company mantra, and all of you better get on board because it's a simple concept. It's kind of like if luck is going by you and you're not prepared for it. And by the way, Louis Pasteur was one of the greatest inventors of all time. I think he invented pasteurized milk, penicillin, and God knows, he was, Louis Pasteur, the worldwide famous. And by the way, I didn't go to high school or college mostly. No, I didn't go to college at all. I hardly went to high school. But I knew who Louis Pasteur was because inventors are always good. Da Vinci, all those guys. And his saying was basically what we talked about today, which is if you take this quarantine time to really get tight, I'm going to bet bet not a whole lot of you out there have a process and procedures manual. Go on the web, they're out there. Real estate and construction process and procedures manual. And by the way, Eddie, 2 books that are the Bibles in our company, okay? Get yourself the Walker Guide, Walker. I don't know when the hell it was written. It was the only book I ever read in my whole life. And it's all about doing estimating. By the way, it's about that thick. It is the greatest book on earth. And the second, if you don't have it, is the Blue Book, which is every subcontractor, architect, engineer.
Which they have electronically now, too.
Remember, the Walker Guide and the Blue Book.
Walker Guide and the Blue Book. Got it.
All you need. By the way, the Walker Guide's like a Bible. If you actually read it, call me because I'll be impressed. I've never read the whole thing, but listen, it says how to estimate them, how to do them. It's the most greatest book in the world. I think it's from the 50s or 60s. So if the chance, by the way, hasn't come. So what Pastor was saying is this is a chance. The chance will probably be here in 3 months, by the way, because there's a commercial mortgage crisis coming nobody's talking about. So if the greatest deal in the world comes, and by the way, you know how you get a great deal? Your cousin, a person you went to high school with, your neighbors, the accountant for a builder in trouble, your brother-in-law's brother is working at a bank with a bad loan. I mean, and this is what it's about being local, and that's why I like Peak. Peak's all about local. If the deal comes and you're not ready to say, I got the money, I got the talent, I'm ready to go, well, that opportunity passes you by. Now look, for all you out there, being connected to Glen means you're connected to folks like me, and Glen's got lots of folks like me. And I don't mean just money guys. I mean, I don't want to say, Glen, we're probably the best asset you got because we're money, we're construction, we're marketing, we're PR. You know, we do it all. As I said to you today, the thing that I would love the most about your group, which I think does mostly 250 to 500 kind of things, 500,000, 250,
right,
is, look, our greatest client we've ever had, which unfortunately you were number 2, Glen, but Charles Florio from Patterson walked in our office as a 20-year-old, 12 years ago. We gave him 180 grand. That turned into $30 million. He now has a $300 million portfolio. Started with 180 grand. Back when we were doing deals that were 250 to 500. So chance does favor the prepared mind, the prepared person. Be prepared for luck. Part of it's being on this webinar is getting prepared for luck, right? Because when luck's going, you want to go and grab it. So, look, first off, I've always loved the Peak group. You know, last year when I was in Newark, I mean, I was there for the whole, and by the way, next time I told everybody, next time we should have a Zoom. If this goes on for another month, which it's not, but I told Glen we should have had a Zoom cocktail party. I love networking with you all. I love meeting you all. You're sweet. You want it, and but now you can't. Okay, you've heard this before. You can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk, right? So just get ready for it and keep talking to Glen and Paul And when that opportunity comes, talk to Glen and Paul, and then get with Brian Foley here, who, you know, look, we've been doing deals that are 10 million to 75 million. I told Foley, you were on the call, Glenn. I'm like, let's go back. Let's reroute. Because one of you all are going to get a $250,000 loan from us through Glen and Paul, yes, with Glen and Paul. That's going to turn into a $20 million relationship like Charles Florio. So if I have one wish, it's that some folks out there get this. And look, there's plenty of stuff on the web that I've done about the real detail of doing projections, scheduling, buyout. But there's nothing more gratifying to a guy like me. By the way, I'll be selfish because it makes me money. It helps somebody like you go from a $500,000 deal to a $5 million deal to a $50 million deal, which I did when I was 20 years old. And Foley here is the gatekeeper.
Well, you got some job, Brian, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's always interesting, but you know, good teacher. You know?
Yeah.
Did I answer that question about Louis Pasteur?
Yes, you did.
Be ready. Be ready.
Be ready. And that's why, you know, we tell all our members to make sure that, you know, they attend meetings like ours, because this is a little different. But even like our next upcoming meetings that we have, if we're going to be doing them like this, hopefully we won't have to. But if we do, we're going to also, we go back to our educational. You know, we provide a lot of education for the beginning investors and the mid-level investors as well. And like Billy said before, no matter how old you are or how long you've been in business, sometimes we learn things. I learn things from Paul. I go, wow. Or Eddie does something. I said, you did that? You can do that, Eddie? He goes, yeah, I could do anything. But then again, he's young.
By the way, Glenn, I am not kidding you. Because Foley is 5 years ago when he started. The first thing I took him through construction. I'm like, make sure your toilets are back to back. Your kitchens are back to back. I had this whole thing. I swear to God, I'm going to put this up close. Everybody see that? Can you see that, Glenn?
Compact layouts.
Yeah, I never even, 40 years of construction, $5 billion of shit. I never ever thought about my duct layouts. All I kept talking about and teaching was plumbing layouts. I never really thought about duct layouts. And Builder Magazine's got a whole thing on duct layouts. And Brian will tell you, I could only read one sentence. But the good news about Builder Magazine is they give you diagrams.
And what Bill's talking about, when he talks about the toilets being back to back, okay, it kind of relates to when you guys are doing your renovations and you want to add a bathroom or do something. You want to take if you could have your bathrooms back to back or right up above, what you're doing is you're using that chase in the wall to take the pipe straight up without taking pipes and putting it on the other side of the house and bringing them over and doing all the type of work. So when you have things back to back, that's why you'll see even in buildings, commercial buildings, you have the men's room, the lady rooms, and well, you know, the toilets are on the other side of the wall, obviously, but they're back to back using the same plumbing coming up. So
if everybody spends 2 hours a day, even 1 hour a day, researching construction methods. Eddie, this is, by the way, Professional Builder Magazine, and then their second magazine is for operating the building, which is called Operations Management. If you spend 1 hour a day researching what the Blue Book is, the Walker Guide, Builder Magazine, Building Operation Management, 1 hour a day. You got, I'm hoping we only have 30 days left, by the way, just so you know. My opinion is they're going to let us out of the cage. Cuomo said today, I think April 17th, he wants to try to open the schools. I'm going to guess he's a week early, but I'm pretty sure by May 1, they're going to let us out. So you got till May 1 to get smarter.
Yes, sir.
That's it. And get ready. Because chance is coming to you all.
Okay, well, with all that being said, we're just about hit it right on the nose over here, a little after 8. So I don't know if there's anything closing, Eddie, Brian, Paul. We could take like a minute. We'll close this up and then let Billy get to his eggplant.
Yeah, sure. So from my perspective, for a lot of the guys that that we see every single month, in regards to the construction and obviously smaller scale stuff, it's just a matter of keeping good communication between not only the guys that you pay, but the guys that pay you as well, the guys that give you your money. It's important to be respectful. It's important to be mindful of the actual rules that we have in place now, because the last thing any of us need is a fine right now. Just keep your feet moving. Whether you're making progress mentally or physically in a project, keep your feet moving. Don't stand still. You don't want your processes, or you don't want anything to become stale over these next few days. That's a little bit of what I got. My brother and I, here for anything anybody needs. You can always reach us. There's plenty of ways to reach us, and that's what I've got.
And for me, stay local, reach out to your builders associations, rewrite your process and procedures, because things break down in the good times. Anybody can make money in the good times. When you stick to the process in the bad times, those are the militant people that will make it through. And keep in touch with your subs. And the person with the most money, when all the availability hits the shelves, was going to be the winner at the end of the game.
Well,
So I give you one other saying that is spoken at our office every day. Confucius said, and I have to gender neutral it because he said he said the word he, but I'm going to say, the person who loves their work never works a day in their life. Now, the favorite video on the Procida Funding Facebook page and my Facebook page still happens to be Charles Florio in January was named the Paterson, New Jersey Man of the Year. And the first thing he said when he had the Congressman or Pasquarelli, the mayor, county exec, he goes, Billy Procida taught me the first day I met him. He said, kid, if you're out to make money, you're wasting my time and you're going to go broke. If you're in this business to build a community and make the world a better place, whenever you make the world a better place, a block, one block, a better place, half a block, a better place, you will make money. But to Brian's point, you can have a heart that wants to do good. You need good process and procedures. You need people like Glen and Paul. And by the way, do not forget that love, at the end of the day, loving what you do, loving who you do it with, just pure old good-fashioned love, right out of your heart, right here. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Because, by the way, you spend most of your life working. You better love what you're doing and love who you're doing it with. Because this way, if you lose money, at least you had a good day. But I don't want you to lose money. Right? But truly, love what you do and who you're doing it with. And peace, man. I can't wait, Glen. Foley, the next event, Glen throws, we're going full force. The whole company, you're going to meet the funnest, nicest, sweetest. The peak people are pure.
well, thank you,
By the way, because Foley and I deal with a lot of assholes.
All right, okay. Paul, you want to do your wrap up?
You have to play a little music, Billy. And I think you're under. Oh, you can't see it.
Oh,
No,
he's going to get his eggplant.
no, he's getting a guitar or something musical.
All right, you wrapped up? You're wrapping up?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be. Oh, here you
You
go.
know what? Yeah, let's have a little. Yeah.
Kumbaya?
Love is real and I'll fade away.
Closing credits.
Closing credits. Very good. Very good. Very good. All
By the way,
listen,
Glenn, that was unplanned.
thank you for your kind words, and thank you and Brian for being on.
Thank you, Brian.
I know you guys are busy, even though I know you're home, you're still busy. Eddie, thank you. It's always a pleasure. Eddie's a fine young man. Him and his brother Kyle, we do a lot of projects with them. They've come a long way. They've made a lot of money over the last year that I know of, and Paul and I are just proud to be able to service them. And Paul, of course, who actually runs things now. You know, I'm there, but am I there? So the last thing I'd like to say to everyone is, you know, continue your education in this business. Get educated, whether you read books, whether you listen to Billy on Billy Ball. He has a great segment on that. You definitely want to listen to him. We've got an office that is outstanding. Brian is just one of the top key members there. We've been in his office many times, and it's just, you know, he's got an incredible group of people that he's trained. He takes the time to mentor people as well, and that's kind of what, you know, we try to do as well, and we do it. Help and mentor and bring people along, and just tell them to get that education, whether it's from the books or YouTube. Just get that education. Come to the meetings. Go to other meetings. And what Brian said too, you know, have your financing in place. We have a lot of friends in the business that are also lenders. Billy's one of the larger lenders, obviously, but we have other lenders that are in this business. I'm proud to say we're friendly with them. We're friendly competitors. We all get, you know, most of us, we all get along to the lenders that are out there. So, you know, see your lenders and, you know, go to them with good deals, take some of their advice. You know, we're in this business to lend money. You go to Billy, you go to us, we make money when we lend money. If we don't want to lend the money, there's a good reason for it. Okay. And it's usually, you know, maybe your deal's just not that good. We don't want to see you guys get blown out. Even if we make a few bucks, that's not what we're about. Billy didn't build his empire by lending, you know, money to people that he knew was not a good deal. And what Billy and I have going for us.
Glenn, you make a great point. Time is your only commodity, not money. Time. That's a great point, Glenn.
That's true. So, and you know what? When Billy looks at a project, like Paul and I look at projects, we're contractors. We know what good deals are. We know where the pitfalls are. We can see it before you even see it coming. We know what's coming down the line. So that's what we do for our investors. So with that being said, I want to thank again, Eddie, thank you. Paul, thank you. Brian, thank you. And Billy, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out. Like I said, we know you're busy, and we hope our members enjoyed it. And we'll see everyone at our next meeting. You'll get a notice. Hopefully, it'll be at the Holiday Inn. If not, you know, we'll try to do the same thing. It'll be a little bit more educational next time, just on some segments like we normally do. So with that being said, yes?
We're coming and sponsoring, Glenn. And but your sponsors are the smartest folks in the world, because to sponsor your group is brilliant, because they're getting them when they're getting started and they can grow with them. So fully.
Come on.
You got that, Brian?
Yeah, I got it. Listen, I'll be waiting for the calls.
All right. With that being said, everyone, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Guys.
Good night, guys.
Bye-bye.